Welcome to the Big Week in Gaming podcast. And what do you know? It's been a big week in gaming. I'm Intergot for episode 54 on the 25th of July, 2021. As always, I'm joined by the official P3 nominated and approved Xbox Hall of Famer and number one challenger to the mantle of the greatest Xbox RPG player in the world, Swinny.
That's debatable.
Maybe number two. Number two challenger, I meant to say. And the game-loving, grind-hating, pretend-to-quit coffee-drinking, gamer, anti-gamer, and interrupter in chief, Mike.
I did not interrupt, and I have given up coffee. I feel very zen-like today.
I feel like the listeners are going on a journey. So we've known you for like 25 years of your yo-yoing, flip-flopping. I'm going to give this up. I'm going to be a minimalist. I'm going to buy every single Dead Space thing available in the planet. Speaking of which, and this week's show will be discussing the completely unexpected reveal of the Dead Space remake, Battlefield's 2042's crazy mashup mode, our biggest gaming pet peeves, and we do a mid-year check-in on our New Year gaming resolutions. Mike, do you know what the easiest thing to do is?
Apparently, it is not making your mum jokes, because it's all about the timing, and I don't always get it right.
We're going to ditch this segment because you just have no idea how to do this. The easiest thing to do, Mike, is to search for Bigwig Pod on socials and join and add our account here. It's great energy, Mike, from you. You just really lift everyone up.
Do you think next week we could get your mum to record that part and just play it on the show?
See, I sometimes don't even think you're on a show, and you think about timing and then pacing and how do you get interest from the audience. But anyway, Swinny, save us.
The low energy is due to him not having his morning coffee. That's what it is.
Yes, that could be the case.
And he said that his quick coffee. That's because he ran out of coffee this morning. That's why it's quick coffee.
And I think I have a bit of a cold or a sinus thing. I don't know what it is.
Swinny, save us. Talk about gaming. Yeah, I might just skip Mike for the whole podcast, actually.
All right. Gaming. Yeah.
So you want me to do my week?
Yeah, what's this week? First. You got a cool story. I want to hear the story about this eBay seller.
Yes.
So I'll get to that in a second. I'll just say, in terms of stuff I've been playing, it's pretty much just been mostly Greedfall. So I'm not going to talk too much about it, except that my trap trick worked that I talked about last week. I said, I have a theory that I'm going to be able to lay 50 traps on the spot in the game and be able to kill the last boss in one hit.
Brilliant.
And it's pretty much confirmed it will work because I killed the boss in 2 lots of those traps. So
nice.
I reckon and that was 40 traps each. I reckon with 80 traps on the spot, I'll kill the last boss on the hardest difficulty in one hit.
So. And they say games don't teach you anything.
Exactly. They teach you how to exploit mechanics. The other game I've been playing, which I wanted to spend a bit more time this week, but honestly I've struggled to play it more than an hour at a time, is a game called Empire of Angels 4, which is a strategy RPG that I picked up the other week. And this game, when I looked it up, I'm like, this game looks super dodgy. It kind of looks like a hentai game without the hentai kind of game.
It's your kind of game, isn't it?
It's really bizarre. I don't know. It's made. I think it's made in Taiwan, and it's very. I think it's even being sold on a hentai website, but it's not a hentai game.
Wait,
it's really
how have you got this game?
I looked it up. It doesn't look that bad.
So when I looked it up, I found that it was linking on all these places, but it's a legit game and it's on Xbox. But
Looks
it's
legit.
it doesn't. Anyway, I'll just say the gameplay is pretty much like Fire Emblem. So it's pretty straightforward, but I have seen that it starts.
A little bit of shade to Fire Emblem fans there.
I'm saying it's to give you an idea.
Yeah.
It's pretty much along those lines, but it seems like it's introducing some more mechanics as I play. So, but that's pretty much all my week in gaming. But I did have a bit of a different experience, which is what you're alluding to.
Yes,
I'm interested to hear about this
week.
I am very interested. I've been nagging him to tell us, but he wouldn't.
So during the week, we were kind of talking offline about the fact that, some of my gaming collection, I said, hey, I don't actually have all the Assassin's Creed games in physical form. So I thought for some of the 360 games that I was missing, like Rogue and Revelations, I'll just find cheap copies. They're cheap on eBay for 360 and just have the physical version of complete the collection. So I got those, and as I was looking, I started to look at the collector's editions of the different games and see what they're going for. And I saw
Rabbit hole, man.
I saw a sealed collector's edition for Assassin's Creed 3 that was on auction, and it was like at like $100. I'm like, you know what? I'll put a bid on for that. Lo and behold, I won the auction. Right? It pops up. You've won the auction. I go, okay. Straight away, I just go, right, pay for it. Then I get an automated message. The seller has cancelled the auction. Has cancelled the sale. Right? And I'm like, they put the reason as item is lost or damaged. I'm like, that is a load of bloody shit. This person has seen that this hasn't gone for as much as they want it to and has cancelled the sale, but I've already paid for it. So what I did is I kind of gave it a little, I was like, what do I do? And then straight away, I just go, you know what, I'm going to report this. So I was pissed off and like, this bastard. So go and report it. I put, they give you a cancellation code and everything. And I said, seller cancelled immediately. It's clear that it didn't sell for the price. And then the bastard messages me. Hey, mate, this didn't sell for what I was wanting. Outright saying that in the message.
Wow, you can't say that.
It didn't let me set a reserve. But if you want, so I won it for like $110, right? If you want, give me 165 for it and 15 for postage. And then we'll complete the sale. I was just flabbergasted. Like, this person has just nothing to do that and just like hide it behind, I don't have the item, which is a load of shit anyway.
Yeah.
Then they outright admit that in a message.
Yeah,
like,
and BS that he can't set a reserve. Of course he can set one.
The fucking gall of this prick.
Also, he's messaged through eBay, right? Not through PayPal. Yeah,
yes,
okay.
Through eBay. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. I didn't reply to the cocksucker. Like, fuck him. I'm assuming it's a he.
That's when he's angry.
So I haven't got the response from eBay yet, but I'd honestly, like, the money's not the thing because I think that gets automatically refunded.
Yeah, you'll get the money back.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's just like, what? Just the whole rest of the night, like, I was messaging you guys, I'm so pissed off. The fact that someone would do that it just didn't sell for, look, fair enough, it didn't sell for what you want, but as you said, that's what the reserve thing is. And them saying they didn't put a reserve on it, well, bad luck. If that's true,
Oh, Swinny's brutal.
Yeah.
eBay life, man.
Because I actually got something else off eBay. I actually got, when I was looking at the stuff, there's a whole bunch of Assassin's Creed books. I'm like, you know what? These look pretty cheap. And there was an auction, and I got like all 6 of them for $20.
Nice.
Whoa, that's
I was
pretty
like,
cheap.
Sweet. And that person didn't cancel after I won the auctions.
I reckon you got to be really careful on eBay. I sell a lot of stuff on eBay, and I've sold things for auction, and I kind of was like, I shouldn't have done it as an auction. That was a dumb move on my part. And then, I've sent things, and I'm like, I know it's worth more, but that's just the game you play, right?
Speaking of games and selling shit, I once sold some.
Go ahead and interrupt my story, Mike. Go ahead.
Interrupt your story because my story is better than yours.
You're doing well on the show so far. Not listening, not like playing along with the bits. Go on.
So I once sold a lady in South Australia on eBay a collection of DS games.
Was she hard to post? Don't worry, you missed it. All right. It's all good. You said you sold a lady from South Australia on eBay.
Oh, was she hard to post? Sorry. I sold to a lady. Sorry, I didn't even
He's
hear
only
what
listening to himself. That's the only...
No, that's the thing. I didn't even hear what I said to be able to get the joke.
I got the wrong layout. Sorry, this is the new layout of the show.
Geez,
sorry.
No,
this is the layout of the show now. It's just the mic show.
Great.
Just interrupt anytime.
Right. Welcome, Bigwiggers, to the mic show. All right. Let's talk some shit because these guys can't stop me now.
Okay, so also we're on an audio podcast, and this fucking idiot is like, okay, I want to talk. He interrupted me, didn't even fucking say his story, and then goes to drink some water. What a fucking numbnut.
Anyway, so where was I? So I posted some DS games to this lady, and it ended up costing me more in postage than what I won for the actual sale. So she ended up winning it for $18 posted because I didn't put extra postage. I included it because I was an idiot.
Yes, correct.
And the postage was $25 or some shit like that because it was a whole bunch of stuff. So it cost me more to post this bloody thing. I lost money. I literally paid someone to take these games off my hands. But I didn't cancel the sale because, you got to learn from your mistakes.
I was expecting more from that. Like,
Yeah, that's a
then
shit story.
Then she complained that,
No, that was it.
The postage was too high or something.
Now, can we not have me as like?
No, the show's all about you. Just interrupting, you know.
All right, well,
not
I'm
playing
tell you
along.
guys what
Where's
I've
the
been
neon-
playing this week.
Where's the neon lights, Mike? Where's the neon?
I know. It's also
No, I want a natural light. I need
Zero
my
effort.
vitamin D. I need my D, man.
my vitamin D while I'm
been-
recording a podcast inside.
Well,
You heard it here. Mike needs his D.
well, at least I get
loves
the
his
D through
D.
the window. You know, you get some D coming through.
He loves the D.
Something
Yeah.
come through.
My girlfriend tried to give me some D the other day, but I refused to take it.
Oh, God.
See, this is where you don't understand comedy. So comedy, if you're gonna make
I
a
don't
joke like
understand
that,
comedy.
it
I
has
never
to
said I
have
do.
multiple meanings. It can't just have one meaning. That's not a joke then.
No, as in literally, she came, she bought some vitamin D from Chemist Warehouse, and she wanted to give me some vitamin D, and I'm like, I don't need any vitamin D. I'm fine.
Can you
But
take
now I'm
vitamin D in
thinking,
tablet form?
You can take vitamin D in any form. You can
I
get
take vitamin
bloody
D if-
suppository
I
vitamin
take
D.
vitamin D every day in tablet form.
Okay.
Yeah. And learn something new every day into gut.
I just thought that it wasn't that effective. I thought the efficacy was pretty low on those tablet forms of vitamin
It
D.
is, but if
So-
you just need,
Isn't
a
it just
bit of
like
a
you go in the
top-up.
sun? Isn't that like 1,000 times better than,
So
like,
I
especially
had
if you're white?
I had a deficiency, and so and then I basically, like, let's say you get them and they're like 1,000. I had tablets that were like 10,000 each, right? But the 1,000 ones are good just to have a couple, just to kind of keep you, you know, like just I guess
At a base level or something?
Yeah. So
Okay. All right, Mike, you want to, since you've interrupted both my story and Swinny's story,
Yes.
do you want
I
to
will send one of
continue
these
all your
mouse
week in gaming?
mats. I will continue it after I say I will send one of these mouse mats to our 10,000th listener. I mean,
What do
subscriber.
you mean
on
10,000th
YouTube.
listener? What does that mean?
Subscriber on YouTube. They will get one of these amazing cat mouse mats.
How do they verify that?
I have no idea. I don't care. I'll figure it out when it happens.
Well, you might have to give it to like 50 people because they're all going to claim that they were the 10,000th.
They'll have to fight over it. All oiled and lubed up.
all right, Mike, what's your week in gaming?
So, in my week in gaming, well, that's the thing. I'm stalling because I didn't really play much this week because I've been really slammed
We're
with-
stalling for what?
slammed
Just
with-
say you didn't play much and move on. Stalling?
Yes,
What do you mean
'cause I've
stalling?
been slammed with work. So really, the only thing I did was Vigil, The Longest Night, which I gave up on, mostly because it just felt like after a while it was way too easy, and there was just no point. And I think it's really, really made me realize that games like Dark Souls, the reasons why you really push through a game like that is the challenge and the adversity. Whereas with something like this, it becomes too easy and you're like, what's the point now? I don't really care. The story's not that great. There isn't even really a proper story to it. Whatever. So I kind of gave up on it. I think I got pretty far, but yeah. And then I tried a little bit of Ring Fit, that thing that Intercot's been giving a crack. Really cool.
It's good, right? It's like a full-on
yes.
workout.
It is. It's a full-on workout. Yeah.
So laugh.
It is really cool. So I got to get back into it. Yeah, it was at the start of the week, and I haven't really touched it since. But I really want to get back into it. And I've been customizing keyboards. So,
So wait, this is
listeners
like
can't-
a very borderline gaming topic. Like this is
I-
not even
I'll
gaming.
allow it.
counts.
As the editor of the show, I'll
Well, you
allow it.
can't. You can't see it, but this one has a really cute. It's for my girlfriend.
Just wish
Got
you
a
put
really
that much
cute,
effort
like,
into the branding and
for
helping us out with the show.
yeah. This is much easier.
This is
you just buy the
buying shit.
and
Yeah,
you-
buying
It's
exactly.
basically just buying shit.
Consumerism
Yeah,
from the
it's
minimalists.
consumerisms. Yeah, I know. I'm a bloody fraud.
So Ring Fit, like just to touch on it, I have tried Wii Fit and then Wii Fit on the Wii U. So I think it was
Yeah.
Wii Fit Plus, I think it was called, or Wii Fit for Wii U. I can't remember naming conventions for Nintendo. And Ring Fit is definitely like, they're not really like workouts. They're good for like stretching and stuff like that. But Ring Fit, if you actually crank it up, because I crank it up to the maximum settings, it is like full on intense if you go hard at it. Like I'll be sweating after playing it for like 30, 40 minutes. It is. It's crazy.
Whoa, 40 minutes. Damn. I don't think I played it for like 15 or something.
15.
And I was wrecked.
Yeah, I want to get back to try it because the problem I had was because I can't use the running mode because of my foot issue. Is their alternative the whole bending knee thing? It's just
Squats.
bloody knees. It's just like
That's hard too, man.
But it's just like I just felt like my knee was like deteriorating as I was doing it. So I'm going to go back and I'm actually going to try the running thing, just see if I can manage it. So.
If you crank down the settings, like the running thing is not that intense. Squats.
Well, it's just literally, I just literally cannot physically run. So it's like, can I do an approximation of a run by landing on my heel
okay.
when I do it, you know? So
that's a challenge.
It's just, it is a challenge.
Because squats are probably if you only are going to do one exercise, it's probably the one exercise you should do because it's, using the biggest muscle in your body. So it actually is anaerobic as well. But
but like the constant, just to
it's very intense.
Levels, it's like, feels like it's wrong.
Oh, and if you're bigger, the strain on your knees is insane. And if you haven't done it much, it's like it can actually blow out your knees really easily.
Oh yeah,
doing
you can
squats.
screw yourself. I'll be careful with that.
Yeah. In terms of my week, I'm playing Mario 64 again, just because my son is obsessed about playing the very first star with King Bobom. So we were constantly jumping up to King Bobom, and I'm like crawling around him, and I'm playing all these games. It's quite funny, actually.
Are you like, hey, it'd be cool. Like, it'd still be fun to play these other stars, like in these other worlds. We don't.
We do a little bit of that. I beat Bowser, one of the Bowser, encounters. So, but he kind of gets fixated on something. That's kids, right?
Has he? What about the slide in the ice world, the snow world?
I don't think he's seen that. No, he hasn't seen that.
He'd love that.
Maybe. It's like so crazy to watch someone like go from not being able to control anything, so like he can maneuver, like, and move the camera a little bit as well. It's kind of mind-boggling. I feel like I give it a year and he'll be better than my wife at like 2 sticks, which is just kind of insane to me. Skyward Sword, been playing a stack of that. I'm really loving it, man. Like, hopefully I'll get through it and do a review. Like, I am coming from a different spot because I never played the Wii version. So I'm not really tainted by that debate, and I don't really care about it either. And then the last one, and this is not something that I have, like I've put it in the notes, Death's Door. I'm just hearing so much hype about Death's Door. I'm like, oh man, I kind of want to pick this game up. And the reason why I put it in here is just on the stream, I was going to say Stream Deck. The Steam Deck is that, man, like I'm kind of getting a bit hyped for this little handheld. It's kind of reshaped what I'm thinking about it. It's like, actually, this might be a really good way to play these indies, and there's just so many of them that are available earlier than Switch. And I think I've always had like Hollow Knight, I'll get that on Switch, which I have. Celeste, I'll get it on Switch, blah blah blah, right? But I don't know. Just I look at the Steam Deck and I think,
can I just ask why are we still focus full screen on Mike?
Oh, because the show's all about Mike. Just like he doesn't give a shit about like playing into the gag or whatever. It's just about him. So it's on him now.
It's your week in gaming,
and the idiot's on mute as well. Like... He's on mute and he's like talking. He's a straight up moron. No, it's just him now. Like he is the show. It's all about him.
Okay.
It's either the big week in Mike or the big Mike in gaming.
Yeah, we got to change the show. Big week in Mike.
Big week in Mike sounds good.
Which big D's in Mike this week? All right. Well, yeah, that's it for me. This is going well so far. All right, let's get into the first news story. Mike, over to you.
All right, so EA has finally revealed the long-rumored latest entry in the Dead Space series franchise. And
latest entry? What do you mean?
Well, it is the latest entry that's coming in. Unfortunately, though, it's not a new game. It is a remake of the original. And I say unfortunately in not necessarily in a... Look, it's not a bad thing, I think. I think it's actually an amazing thing. So I am a very big fan of the franchise. So bought the original Dead Space when it came out. I think I've got the collector's editions of 2. 3 wasn't as great. 3 went into the realm of being a little too actiony. And for those who don't, I guess, have a huge background on Dead Space itself, it's a survival horror game that was made back in 2008 in the sci-fi genre. It was originally made by Visceral Games. At the time, I believe they were called EA Redwood Shores. They've now gone through multiple different namings, and I don't even think they exist as a studio. It's now a different name.
No, they're dead. They've been killed.
They're dead, yes.
As part of like, yeah. Anyway, go on.
EA's thing. Anyway, 13 years later, EA have announced a remake of the classic. So, like I said, there was a Dead Space 2, which was also a good game, and there was a Dead Space 3, which was a good game. I don't want to start doing a tier list or anything like that. It certainly didn't hit the same mark, I think, for people as the original, and I think a lot of people would agree to that. The original is a cult classic. It's an amazing survival horror game for many, many, many reasons. So, for example, and I might as well talk about it because it is elements that are coming back to the new game. It's got what I only found out recently is the name of this thing, and that's called a diegetic interface. And that's basically an interface that doesn't have a HUD that kind of has elements added to the screen. The actual HUD, so I'm talking about stuff like the health bar, the ammo counter, the map, objectives, etc. It's all part of the game itself. So in Dead Space, to those who are not familiar with it, your health bar is actually a little strip on Isaac, who's the protagonist of the story, on his back. And it's a third-person survival horror action game. And that's how you know your health. It's not something you get as a number on the screen or anything like that. The ammo count appears as a little HUD element on your actual gun. And it's all little elements like that I think add to the immersion. And I'll talk about some of the improvements they're making to even something like that. The combat was absolutely satisfying. So it introduced this idea that it wasn't just about headshots. At the time, it was, hit the head for the weak spot. In this game, it was about cutting the limbs off, and they really pushed for that, and a lot of the enemy designs incorporated that, and it made the game really, 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 really cool in that sense. And speaking of enemies, awesome variety, really cool level design, fantastic sound design. If you're into survival horrors, this thing was amazing. It was one of the absolute classics of survival horrors. So about the new game, what's changing? What are they introducing? So first of all, it's going to be exclusively for new generation consoles. So new gen is in Xbox Series S and X and PlayStation 5, as well as PC. So they're focusing exclusively on those, which means we'll hopefully see the same level of, polish as what we saw with something like Demon Souls. That was just an absolutely phenomenal remake of the original. Again, it's not a remaster; it's a remake in the sense that they're not just taking all the general stuff and up-resing the graphics or up-resing the textures, kind of like what they did in Mass Effect, I suppose, with a bunch of tweaks. They're actually rebuilding the entire thing from ground up in Frostbite, which is what a lot of EA titles are currently being run on. So they said that they started with having sort of the general design and the general layout of the original game, but they've overhauled everything. So they've overhauled the visuals, they've overhauled the sound, the animations, models, pretty much everything they said they've overhauled, because they want to stay true to the experience, but they want to really make a proper next gen or current gen, new gen, whatever gen title you want to call it now. But they did also say a few interesting things. Like, for example, they took elements from Dead Space 2, like the zero gravity parts, which were quite cool and quite iconic in that game, and try to integrate it into the original as well when they're remaking it, which could be quite interesting. They're also, talking about ray trace reflections and stuff like that, which is, I wouldn't say a given, but for a game like that, I think it could really benefit from it. And 3D audio, which is something that I think is perfect for a game like this. I remember back in the day, were you going to say something, Swinny?
I was just going to say, when you originally wrote these notes, it said ray trade reflection.
Ray trade.
I'm like, I'm going to take a gamble that there isn't something known as ray trade.
It's the next gen of ray tracing.
And I'm going to rename it to ray trace because I know you have a habit of saying exactly what.
He's like Ron Burgundy.
I don't always.
He's like Ron Burgundy.
What it is. I do not. So a couple. Well, I wrote the notes because I want to talk about the notes. So
you want to talk about the notes, okay?
Well, as in like there's a reason, there's a method to the madness of my notes. So in improved graphics, improved immersion. I think what you'd get. I had the opportunity to play it in 5.1 originally. I think this game would benefit greatly from using headphones. I remember playing Alien Isolation, which survival horror as well, sci-fi as well. You can make a lot of comparisons with it. Of course, much slower paced than Dead Space was. And I played that with headphones. And oh my God, the immersion is just fantastic at 1 o'clock in the morning by itself.
I didn't realize the original. So you talked about the engine, how it's using Frostbite. So I just looked up. I'm like, what was the first Dead Space built on? It was actually built on the same game engine that Redwood had designed for the Godfather game.
Oh, wow.
It's just such a weird kind of mix to go from using the same engine from the Godfather to Dead Space. But hey, it was obviously clearly a good engine at the time.
What's that that game series that talked about the Ars Technica one? There's an episode on that. The Ars Technica game design ones where they have the different developers.
Why did you say anything, Swinny? Why did you say anything?
Hey,
why did you say anything?
What?
No, I'm interested.
Is that not...
I'm interested in it. I just kept hearing you say Ars Technica.
Ars Technica. So on the Ars Technica, excuse me.
It's all about D and Rs.
That's right. That's the theme of this week. So they've got a really cool segment, which you guys should totally check out, on the original game designer, I think it was, or the producer, I forget who it was exactly now, that worked on Dead Space. And he talks about some of the challenges of building the game and level design and stuff like that. So totally worth checking out.
Glenn Schofield, right?
I don't remember his name, unfortunately. I'm really bad with remembering people's names. So one cool thing that I think they talked about as well, is that you'll be able to play it seamlessly from start to finish. So the original game had a few transitions, but like I mentioned earlier, it had that diegetic interface that also added to elements like not needing to pause the game. So for example, if you went to a terminal or you wanted to check your map, it would kind of bring up this sort of holographic thing to look at. It wasn't, an interface or a menu that took over the screen. And I think what they said they're going for is that you'd literally be able to play the game from the very, very start of the game to the end of the game with no cutscenes, no transitions in that sense. It's just a seamless experience. And that takes advantage of the new gen hardware as well to be able to do that. So talked a bit about how they're looking at refining the story and making improvements based on, introducing things that came in later games to try to make the game a bit more cohesive. They were very specific about no microtransactions, which I think is fantastic.
Was it? It was number 3 that had the biggest issues with that, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, it was definitely number 3. I think that's the reason why it became too actiony, microtransactions, all sorts of stuff that people didn't really like as much as the original. The original was just a gem of a game. And one thing that I found quite interesting as well is that they said they never really did this at EA before, that they took feedback from the community and they're actually actively getting fans and reaching out to them, like really dedicated fans. I guess I didn't make the cut, that to get feedback and improvements on the game and have an open conversation about what works, what doesn't, etc. And I think that's a really cool process. So I'm personally really looking forward to this one.
It's an interesting choice to get out there straight away with the no microtransactions, given that EA Motive has previously worked on Battlefront 2. It's just like it's kind of like, to me, it's almost like it's a reminder of the horrible state that game was in. I know they weren't, obviously they worked on that together with DICE and Criterion, but I don't think Star Wars Squadrons had any microtransactions from memory. I think unless there's something that I'm not sure about, but that's the only other game that EA Motive has worked on. So
yeah, with Squadrons, they've also said they're not going to add any content, any DLC, anything to the game. Like they wanted to be really clear. It was like, this is the game. The game's done. We're not adding to the game and we're moving on. So I think if you park all the history of EA are like one of the more reasonable studios around microtransaction these days. Like, yes, you got like the big games like FIFA Ultimate Team and stuff like that. But, for a lot of games, I think that people were feeling like we're seeping into single player games like Ubisoft. Like hey, I got to pay to get experience faster, stuff like that. I don't think EA's been doing many things like that recently.
That was kind of my reaction, Mike. Like, You can't separate the FIFA Ultimate Team from the EA. Sorry, like to say they're one of the more reasonable when they're probably the one of the worst, I think is a bit rough.
They're
I know what you're saying.
trying to be
outside,
better.
outside of the sports games, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, they're trying to be better with that stuff, I think.
But it's choice, right? It's choice.
Like 2K are terrible. Ubisoft are terrible. Like other companies are terrible with this stuff. But to me, FIFA Ultimate Team is still just like that is the king of of loot box microtransaction style stuff to me still.
Oh, I think mobile can't be defeated in that space, but
oh, sorry, I'm talking like kind of like
console.
I think we're doing a mic and digressing a little bit here, but
yeah, look, like the overarching point is 100% correct that EA has a bad history and a bad name now because of this, and it does seem like with Squadrons, they were so clear about, there's nothing extra. We're not going to be charging things down the track. Rah rah rah. Like this is the game. If you buy it, here it is. So yeah, they're very hypersensitive to that kind of stuff.
I was trying to see if I could just find it quickly then. But
I saw that you're looking for Dead Space, right?
I've still got the first Dead Space sealed from 360 that I've never played.
Hey, it could be worth 1.5 million soon.
Yeah,
I'll go get it graded.
Keep it.
No, because the reason I never played it is because the same reason I don't play a lot of the Resident Evil games. I'm a wimp, and I don't horror and me
because they're
don't
not RPGs.
No, horror and me just don't mix. Like I enjoy watching like other people play that stuff, but I just don't like playing it myself because I just get too tense. It's just
Swinny,
just not the thing for me.
If we get to 10,000 subs, and we should also shout out, we got to 250 subs. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
If we get to 10,000 subs, would you play Resident Evil 7 in VR mode?
No.
Oh, come on, play ball.
No.
That's weak.
I'm not even gonna.
I'm already giving out a free mouse mat. Come on, you gotta help out here.
No, I'll stick to my Chemico games. Thanks.
Okay, not in VR. Not in VR then.
So, Intergod, are you interested in picking this up or
playing? Yeah,
this?
definitely. So I think I should check. I think I own Dead Space, but I never played it. No, it doesn't look like I do. Yeah, I was always really keen to play it. It is available on console, Game Pass. Is that correct?
Potentially as part of EA Play. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I believe that you can play all of the games on Game Pass on console, but I don't have an Xbox One or a Xbox Series X, so I can't play it that way. But yeah, it looks like the kind of game I'd like because I do
seems like it is in Game Pass.
Yeah, that's what I thought. All three of them, I believe. I love the design of the game, as you're saying, Mike. Just around, I actually listened to. I'm pretty sure it's Glenn Schofield. Correct me if I'm wrong, Swinny. The guy who's like the main guy behind it.
Sounds familiar.
Now is doing that Callisto Protocol.
That's right.
Game. Yeah, that's.
And
right.
it is Glenn. Yes.
Yeah. So I was listening to an interview that he had where he's talking about, I just want to pull all that HUD shit away, and then they're all like trying to wrap their brain around. The main thing that they were worried about was like health or like some indicator of that or energy, health or anything like that. And they're like, shit, how do we do this? And then someone came up with that idea of having it on the spine, as you said, of Isaac. Brilliant. Is that right?
Yeah.
And then whoever came up with that, they were just like, fuck, that was a genius thought. Like
it's really cool, man.
And it's so iconic
like
that because I don't think you called out the teaser trailer. I was waiting for you to say something about a teaser trailer and then I could play it as B-roll. Another criticism.
Anyway,
I should add all the criticisms.
I don't want to keep looking at myself.
No. The whole show is going to be you because it's all about you.
Oh God.
And like that, it's so iconic now that was pretty much the whole teaser trailer was just the iconic sort of power at the back and the whole cut off the limbs and stuff. So it's really cool. Yeah, the thing for me is I just find it weird that, oh hey, look at this, like we are in full widescreen.
Don't worry about it. It's a full widescreen. So.
I know.
This is the most.
You got change it to the 3. People.
Nah,
Come on.
Yeah,
I refuse.
please change it back to the 3.
Nah.
Give us some privacy.
You're like being broadcast. Yeah, like when the hell is this game coming out? That's the thing that kind of shocked me about this whole thing. It feels like this game is so far away. Like this could be 2024.
You reckon though? Why
Yeah.
would they make an announcement this early?
I just wonder, some studios like Nintendo are so good at keeping things under wrap. Like they'll announce something and people will go, wow, did not know they were working on this at all. And it's like coming out in 3 months. EA does not strike me as a studio. Like, I mean, we all knew about this, you know what I mean? And it's so early. I just feel like they said, fuck it. Like everyone kind of knows we're making this. Let's just put it out there. And there's probably some people in the industry who are like, hey, I'd love to work on that. And it seems really freaking early. Like maybe I'll jump across and start working on it. So
also they needed a bit
reason.
of a tent pole for their EA Play event. So
yeah.
It's like they announced Grid Legends there. They had some other interesting stuff, but they didn't have, hey, here's a big new reveal that everyone would.
And they had so many things they said they weren't going to talk about.
Exactly.
Like the new Mass Effect, Dragon Age, like all this kind of stuff. So yeah, maybe you're right that they had to have something. I just, honestly, my gut feels like this is 2024. So I don't know. Swinny,
right.
when do you reckon?
Sounds about right. Either that or like holiday 2023.
Yeah, if you're pushing it. But just with COVID, that's why I'm probably pushing it back a bit further even.
I reckon 2022.
Yeah, I like to take that bet. That's not going to happen. No way. They showed nothing, dude.
We'll see.
All right, what do you want to put on it?
Oh, come on, let's move on. We've got to talk about
Holiday 2022.
All right, let's talk about our next story. Battlefield 2042. So that was the other thing that was revealed in the EA Play. What was it called? I've forgotten actually already.
EA Play Live.
That's what I thought. And I
Can
thought
we have some B-roll?
Surely it couldn't be EA Play Live. It says right here in the notes.
Well, they couldn't call it EA Play because that's already been used in so many different ways. So.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So, yeah, the new reveal, and it's called Portal. Where I didn't watch this live, and I saw this thing where it was like Battlefield 2042 Portal, like in Twitter or something. I was like, wow, have they done some
what I thought too.
mashup with the game, the Valve game Portal? I was like, this is insane.
That is exactly what I thought too.
But it is actually really cool, and I'm coming from someone who hasn't played almost any of the Battlefield games, and you both have played them stacks. I'm actually super pumped about this. It's like, what would you say? It's almost like Forge, right, Swinny, in terms of it's a platform where you can, play custom modes, bring in sort of other elements of the Battlefield games. So Battlefield 1942, Bad Company 2, Battlefield 3, stuff like that.
At launch.
At launch, yeah. And then you can like bring in those weapons or the maps and like do mashups. I don't know. I love this kind of shit. Like, we are fucking playing games. Just lean into the games, lean into the fun, lean into the ridiculousness. Like, don't fucking get too serious on, women weren't fighting in World War I or World War II, so that's not right and la la la. Like, who gives a shit about that? Let's just have fun.
The knife and defibrillator fight was awesome.
Well, I wasn't going to talk about it until we got up to it, but
okay,
cool.
No, they showed it in the trailer just before, so I'm like, worth mentioning.
No, the big part is later. There's a whole like section of it.
Okay, they showed a bit of it.
So
there it is.
Yeah.
Go Swinny.
So all the maps, vehicles, and weapons that are taken from those three games have reimagined visuals as well, which I think is really, really awesome. Because for them just to chuck like 360, or I guess you probably use the PC version, but that era of Battlefield in obviously just wouldn't gel right away, and especially 1942, obviously. But it's really, what I really love is that they're giving people the ability to use classic loadouts as well. So I spent the most time in Battlefield 3 out of any of the Battlefield games, and I love that game so much. Still kind of regret potentially not trying to push for that as part of our, game some other year, but whatever.
Yeah, you were really keen on it, yeah.
But the classic loadouts from that game, the Assault, the Support, like the Recons, like those classes, because they're changing that stuff in 2042, and I didn't play enough of 1 and Battlefield V or 5 or whatever to know how they handled all the loadouts there, but the fact that you can use classic loadouts as well is great, because a lot of people will just be able to play, like, there's 2 Battlefield 3 maps. You got Caspian Border, which is the one that's shown on the screen at the moment, which is an awesome map. Then I never know how to say it, but I think it's Nashar Canals or something like that, which, Mike, I don't know if you remember, is the one on the docks with the cargo boxes and everything. That's such a cool map as well, and the rail system and stuff. So being able to play that stuff with the class loadouts that I like is really, really cool, because it's almost like a next gen upgrade, just in a small splice. But the fact that you can then mix that with the older stuff, like I can't remember the maps from 1942, but surely you gotta have a Wake Island. Let me
Yeah.
look it up. But yeah, like
Be
being
weird
able
if they
to
didn't,
use Battlefield 3 vehicles in Wake Island would just be really, really cool and stuff like that. So, and a lot of people are pumped about Battlefield Bad Company 2. That's a very well regarded game. And yeah, this is really neat. I love the fact that you can tweak a lot of the options. So this is where it starts to get into. I mean, a lot of games do this, but the fact that you can say, okay, we're going to disable aim down sights. We're going to kind of, start, you can really kind of make it more hardcore in a way if you want, with like no health regen. And they specifically called out in the article they put up that no, you can't create a battle royale mode using Portal. Like, yes, just in case you wonder. But you can also use the AI players that we talked about to backfill the play count. So really, really cool. And it's all built around also this really crazy looking logic editor that they've done. That's just like, I can't see a lot of people a lot of people get into that, but I think the people will probably just allow other members of the community to do that for them, because what you can do is you can use that tool to build the rules and conditions and say, okay, what happens when a player kills another player? This is the kind of the offshoot consequences. But you can then share those experiences essentially just via a URL with someone else. So then they can load that up and potentially even modify it themselves. So really, really cool idea. I love it.
I'm actually really hyped about this. Like, and I'm not saying it's a direct parallel to Forge mode in Halo, but it's that style of here's a sandbox to do shit, do fun stuff, muck around. And like Swinny and I used to play Halo 3 a lot. And we spent a lot of time in Forge mode, actually. And I actually probably almost have some of the fondest memories of fucking around in Forge mode, setting shit up, just trying to break the game itself, break the maps, trying to do weird shit. And I could imagine doing a lot of really cool stuff in this Portal mode. It actually, yeah, I don't know. I'm really hyped about this game. We mentioned it in the Minute Mic section last week, but just probably a good time to reiterate that it was how I thought it would work out, where the player base is pretty much split up into two. It's like PS5, Xbox Series, and PC all in sort of one pool. And then you've got Xbox One and PS4 in a separate pool, which is kind of weird that PlayStation is not in the same pool as each other and Xbox is not in the same pool as each other. It's the next gen versus last gen. And then you also have an option to say, hey, if I don't want to play with PC players, you can select that off. But by default, everyone's going to be together. So I think that's awesome as well, because that means I can get this game on PC, where that's definitely where I'd want to play it. And Swinny would get it on Xbox Series X. I'm pretty 99% sure that you'd do it like that. And then Mike will just go wherever he wants, because you never know. You can't really predict it.
So just to correct something from before, so the assumption was wrong. So Wake Island isn't one of the 6 maps, which is surprising to me.
Wow.
But that's a nice, easy win for them.
Iconic.
Because this is a live service thing they're going to update over time.
Yeah.
So they'll be like, oh, now we're adding Wake Island. Everyone will be like, yay.
We're listening to the community. And then, by the way, they've had it in their plan for like the last 8 months.
Yeah, so they've got Battle of the Bulge and El Alamein. I'm honestly not familiar with Battlefield 1942 maps outside of Wake Island, because that's all we ever played when we played that game. But yeah.
Yeah, I think this game is going to be massive. I just get the sense like this is going to be like starting to rival Call of Duty level in terms of interest and excitement for it.
They're making all the right decisions, I think, with this so far. So.
Well, like look at someone like
listen to the community.
Well, like someone like myself who's not like a Battlefield person. I actually, weirdly enough, own digitally almost all of them, and I've never really played many of them. But I don't know, something about
you haven't paid for any of
them.
them.
No, of course not. I have them. What's the difference? I own them.
What's the difference?
Yeah, like, so I look at it and I go, just the way they're presenting everything, pulling it all together, the marketing it, just, I don't know, it's just, I'm really hyped about it. I'm actually like super keen to play this. I hope we all jump on it and a few of our other mates. People in the community, hit us up in Australia mostly, because it's going to be too hard if you're overseas.
Well, yeah, we'll be joining Australian servers.
Exactly. Yeah, we're more than happy to play with people. It'd be really cool. Because, 128. So we need a lot of people in our community to fill out a squad. Can you actually get a squad of 128, you reckon? Of 64, I guess it would be.
I mean, I'm sure you could create, I'm really out of the loop on the recent games, but
yeah, you
could, create clans and stuff.
Okay.
But generally, I know Battlefield 3 and 4 was generally like squads.
Teams of
like
4.
4, yeah.
Okay.
But that's squads of 4 within the same faction side.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
All right, cool. No, really, really keen, really looking forward to it. All right, let's get into our next bit of news. And we finally know the date that we can order the Playdate now. So I did text us like offline because I have a monitor on the developer site for Playdate to see whenever they change it, because I really want to start looking at the SDK. And I noticed it changed. So I was thinking, I wonder if they're going to update the pre-order listing, and they have. So for Australian time, it's going to be 30 July, which is, what is that, a Wednesday, Swinny? Let me check. A Friday. Okay, so Friday, 3 a.m., 30 July, our time in Australia, Eastern Standard Time. And for the US, so in the West Coast, it's the 29th of July, 10 a.m., East Coast, 1 p.m., and then London would be like 6 p.m. on that day. And they have confirmed that it's 20,000 units that they're initially producing. They will ship them out later this year. They will not. They will not. Let me finish. They will not stop the orders. So it's not like analog where it's, they probably produced like 20,000 as well, but then just said, bang, we're like not taking any more orders. What they're doing is when they exhaust the first 20,000 allocation, they're just using the numbers to determine how much they want to scale up or down the factory. That does mean that, if you do order it and you're not in the first 20,000 orders, it probably will take like March, I reckon 2022 at the earliest to receive it, and maybe even longer, to be honest, when you think about how long it takes to produce these type of things with the chip shortage and everything. But no, I'm super keen on this, and I'm actually like very committed now to like trying to make a game for this, because I just think the crank mechanic is so unique and it just can't really be replicated in any other way. Like in terms of just the dynamic nature of how quickly you can turn it back and forth and how precise you can do that. So yeah, I'm just really trying to think about, what could you do that could only be played on this. The other thing they confirmed was that the dock is not going to be available at launch. And that kind of really sucks in Australia. So you can order the Playdate and you can order the cover for the Playdate, but you can't order the dock. So for us, we're going to get pinged massively for shipping. And that means that if you order the dock later, it's just like another huge hit on the shipping. Won't be a big bother for people in the States. But yeah, it would certainly suck for people in Australia like us.
Do we have an idea of what shipping might actually cost for this?
I think I'm just going in with the assumption it's going to be like analog, because they probably would they wouldn't have preferred suppliers because they're not big, and they're doing this all themselves. So it's probably going to cost you like $80 Australian, I reckon, to ship it. It's friggin' expensive device.
Huge,
so this is where I wanted to land. Like, what is everyone doing? Are we ordering this? Who's ordering it? What are we doing?
I mean, sounds like you'll be able to pick one up in the future. So I'm probably going to do that. I'm not going to go and get one now. The shipping thing, it's completely unrelated, but Pat the NES Punk, how he does those guides.
Yeah. I've got a few of them actually.
SNES guides. I looked the other day at finally trying to get them, and it's just like the shipping cost to Australia. It's just ridiculous. So it's like it's the same thing with this. It's so rough. Like I remember I got that custom Catan board.
Oh, sorry. I got to stop the press. Because this wasn't available before, but I just double checked the site. They have updated it. They do have shipping prices now to Australia.
Wow.
How much?
$18.43 US. That's insane good. If that's the cost.
Wow, that is very good.
What they would be doing, if this is true, they would be shipping from China directly.
Yes,
because this is not because what Analog does is they take all their product back to Seattle and do QA on it, all this other kind of shit. And then they ship it out of Seattle. So for us, it's like a double whammy. We get all the way from China to Seattle and then Seattle to Sydney. Whereas they definitely, looking at the prices.
Oh, with that price, absolutely. It's got to come from China.
Because it's actually more expensive to ship it to Europe than it is Australia. It's got to be from China. Oh, that's awesome, man. So it's it's only like $18.43 US. And they're saying it's general estimates, but I couldn't imagine it's going to be astronomically different than that. So
it'll be around that.
I'm 100% really ordering it next week. I'm going to wake up in the morning and order it.
Okay.
3 a.m., which is nuts.
Maybe send me a friendly reminder the night before.
We could stream it.
Impulse decision at the.
We could stream.
Streamer making pre-orders.
Streamer pre-order, yeah.
Meta thing I've ever heard.
I got to be careful because I could dox myself and then credit card and everything. It's probably like a very dangerous thing to do. So I'm going to order it. Swinny, you're probably going to wait until you can get it from like EB Games if they ever sell it.
No, I'm just not in a rush. Like I'm not going to sit there clicking refresh. Oh no, right, I missed out or some bullshit. Like Analog's the one exception to that. The thing is, you missed the most important news.
What?
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
What is it? What's the most important news?
You got to read the run sheet.
That I'm yellow, the exposure of my camera because of the sun and everything. Can't adjust it.
Related to that, but no.
What?
You got to read it out. We're wanting you to read your segment. You need to read it out. The
pre-order date for the highly anticipated Playdate handheld has been revealed. There you go, done.
Okay.
And
Mike is disappointed.
I'm very disappointed.
He's disappointed I'm not playing ball with like the show. Jeez, wow.
Mike added...
Just to let people know, it's still yellow and it still comes with a crack.
Oh.
Thank you, Mike.
Just thought we'll clarify that.
Very good joke, boys. And Mike, so you're just going to determine if you're in a consumerist or minimalist mood on the day.
I'll see why bipolar Mike will think on that day.
I can order 2.
That would save on ship. Well, actually, would it save on shipping? We don't know.
Marginally.
You can bring it down with you when you come back.
It's not worth it. I'm really surprised how good that postage is, to be honest.
It's shipping from China, right? And that's what I always get frustrated when I see these things getting sent from China to the US and then, sent from the US to here where we're so close to China and we have a lot of, transit between China. So cool. All right, let's move on. So our final bit of news is this awesome Super Mario World widescreen 16:9 version, which was like kind of releases the sort of final-ish version from a ROM hacker extraordinaire, Vitor Valella. Is that right? Valella? I should double check this shit. And we should also, I don't know, I don't want to labor this point, but obviously there's super sad news around Nier recently. But, another thing that like Nier's impact, this only works because of Nier's work around, the BSNES. So that's the Super Nintendo emulator. And then being able to really pull apart all the hardware and emulate it. They're able to, generate these type of things. So you can only play this in Nier's emulator BSNES. And essentially, it patches the game live and then also like some stuff that it's done in the past. So like, to restructure it. And I've played this and it's insane. It's like, it is like truly something that's been made by insane people like me who are like, because I don't usually play these games in a like 1:1 pixel perfect ratio. Like I try to play it like how the Super Nintendo looks. So sometimes you'll find games that like circles don't look like circles because they're playing it in 1:1. Instead of pixel aspect ratio. And, they have all these options for that stuff. And it's insane. Did you guys get a chance to play it? Because I played it for like 10, 15 minutes and loved it.
I have not, no.
I did try it out. It's obviously super impressive and super cool, but there's also that part where it's so successful in what it does that when you start playing it, you forget that it's any different. Like it just feels natural.
Yeah.
It feels like, I'm playing Mario World. And I'm like, oh no, I'm playing a 16:9 version of Super Mario World that's never existed. Like, it's crazy. It's so good. I'm so pumped to potentially see this happen to more and more games because it's just this is the way I'd love to replay these classics, and it makes me like I know there's probably little money to be made in this, but it just makes me sad that you've got Nintendo that like this is the kind of thing I wish they would do. Like re-release a classics in these 16:9 modes. I know they did some of the 3DS 3D stuff and things, and Sega did that as well, but like this is how I think a great way to re-experience these games.
And look, like as the self-admitted Nintendo shill on the podcast, I because the one example of they've done something like this that's very directly related to something like this is Fire Emblem, the NES game that they actually released not just an English version. So it's not just a translation. They actually modified the game live. So they had like not even really like save states. They could alter the game a little bit. So they actually put a bit of work into that, and it wasn't just a simple, Japanese text boom, put it into English, which by the way isn't that simple to do anyway. They actually put a bit of effort into that, and I'm actually fine if Nintendo were like, okay, here's the 16:9 versions of these, and you have to pay like $5 or something to play them.
Yeah,
I'd buy that. Like, I know that yes, I'm a shill, whatever, come at me. I don't give a shit anyway. But yeah, like I'd be all for that. And I'm totally in agreement with you, Swinny, that like it's just such a shame because I would love to replay like things like Super Metroid in this 16:9 fashion on the Switch OLED, in a few months. Like that'd just fucking look insane. It looks sick, man. And it's my favorite game of all time. And I feel like playing this, Swinny, and this sounds like an outlandish thing that I'm going to say, maybe, but I feel like this is now the definitive way to play this game.
I mean, it's a damn good way to play the game, so I don't disagree.
Well, yeah, but I just think was I played through it and I'm like, this is just it genuinely is like a 16:9 version of it. It's not like, I don't know. And I only played it for 15 minutes. It didn't seem to glitch or have any weirdness about it at all. It was just bloody perfect. I was like, wow, this is fucking insane. So no, I'm just really hyped. I actually want to play it more. Just because it's such a cool way to play it and just rediscover it. I'm sure that there are some elements of it that, given that games were designed in that sort of, 8x7 or 4x3 fashion, that they won't translate as well. You know what I mean? Because maybe they'll give away a secret or something like that. But
I mean, the Super Mario World does have some one screen kind of things. Like the first thing you see is a one screen. So they've obviously had to take a little bit of liberty there, but they've got the sprite artwork anyway to fill out the gaps to end them. You see the mountain going off the edge of the screen, so they finish off that. What it would naturally look like. So they do have to take a little bit of liberties, but when you're talking about the levels themselves, like in the footage at the moment, I mean that stuff is just all looks natural. It all looks how it's almost like in your mind how you saw it as a kid.
Yeah, it really is. It's like I'm going to be fascinated playing these games more in the 4x3 again. Because I might look at it and go, oh, wow, this is kind of weird. They've done the same with Mario Kart, because Mario Kart is a lot easier just because, if you think about the Mode 7 thing, because this has also kickstarted this whole thing. And I'll close this tangent off really shortly, but essentially, Mario Kart's Mode 7, so it's like a 2D image that's just projected in a 3D plane. And because of that, it's really easy to make it widescreen because you know what you're already filling out. So that was the first game they really did that with. And then they were like, oh, wait a second. It's projecting it, but it's doing it using the SNES hardware. And that's not, because the way it interpolates and stuff like that, it's more blocky than it needs to be. So the first thing that they did after that was they made an HD version. I don't know if you've ever played the HD version of Super Mario Kart in BeastNess, Swinny?
No.
Yeah, and it looks insane. So it's like the image, but it's perfect 2D, 3D projection. It looks really trippy almost. So you should try that out next. That's also almost a definitive way to play Mario Kart, Super Mario Kart as well. So
I'd love CF0 like this as well.
I think they have that. I think they have that as well. Yeah. So yeah, it's cool. It's like a whole little scene that's happening around that. I could bang on about it all day, but I just wanted to really make sure that we covered it. And thanks to, I was going to cap the video myself, but thanks to Tim Sweeney and the Unreal video channel on YouTube. Very well done. Perfect capping, 4K. It was, 60 frames per second. Can't complain about that. And they didn't have any shit on their screen. I'm always a big fan of when people just go, we didn't make this game, so I'm not going to try to claim credit or put a little fucking watermark or some shit like that on there. Anyway, so that covers us off for the news this week. And we'll get into our new favorite segment of the week, the Minute Mike. He's back in full screen as he always wants to be. I'll give you a little. I don't
want to be in full screen.
I'll give you a little intro, and the whole idea here is this is all the extra bits of news that we don't really have much to comment about, but probably important to shout out. Mm-hmm. So we collate it in what we call the Minute Mike. Here's 1 minute to cover it all. If you don't finish it, you cannot. If the alarm goes off, you have to stop. You can't cover it. So we'll go into it. The most
anxiety-inducing part of my week.
Oh, actually, you know what I realized? I I built the layout to be like this. Sorry.
Activision Blizzard are being sued over allegations of poor treatment of female employees. Netflix will begin with mobile games as part of its move to add gaming to its subscription service. Tencent has acquired Sumo Group for $1.27 billion US. The Pro Evolution Soccer series has been renamed to eFootball and will be free to play. Boo. Aussie studio Tantalus Games are confirmed to have been behind Skyward Sword HD. Awesome. District 9/Elysium director Neil Blomkamp has joined Gunzilla Games as chief visionary officer. From Nintendo of America president Reggie Fils-Aime will be releasing a book about his career. Shut up. The Final Fantasy Pixel remasters could come to other platforms if there is enough demand. Superhot VR has patched out sequences of self-harm in a recent update. Blockbuster gacha games Genshin Impact has now Alloy from Sony's Horizon series. Doki Doki Literature Club Plus sales have topped 500,000 in its first 2 weeks. And lastly, Remedy's classic Max Payne 2 has celebrated its 20-year anniversary.
All
right, how do you pronounce his name?
I thought it was the first Max Payne that celebrated its 20 years, not Max Payne 2.
No, the original, sorry.
Yeah.
Did I?
You said, that's all good. Yeah, it's
I think you
Sorry.
panicked.
I probably panicked.
You got down to 2 seconds, viewers. 2 seconds left.
It's Fils-Aime. Reggie Fils-Aime.
Fils-Aime.
Yeah.
How do you go from Fils-Aime to Fils-Aime?
I did something a bit,
French names. I
was gonna say your actual name, but I don't want to dox you. But,
I did something a bit naughty in the minute mic this week, so sorry, Mike. I did put Blockbuster Gacha Game because I knew it would be a bit of a tongue twister.
Blockbuster Gacha Game.
Blockbuster
Genshin
Gacha
Impact.
Game.
That's awesome.
Impact.
I thought you were actually going to run out of time. I'm always excited.
Well done, Mike. Well done.
You did well.
Thank you.
I did think you were
tight.
going to run out of time. I was getting excited there for a second. All right, let's get into our second favorite segment, the bargain bin for the week commencing Sunday, the 25th of July, 2021. As always, we start with Epic Games. Free games this week are Defense Grid, The Awakening, and Verdun. World War I fighter, multiplayer fighter. As always, Swinny wants me to call out where there are good Amazon Prime gaming deals. And this week is a good one. So Battlefield 1 is available for free this week as part of your Amazon Prime subscription. Just Google Amazon Prime Gaming and you'll find the link and get on there and activate it. You do need to have an Origin account on your PC to activate it. And it runs out on the 4th of August.
And they say Jeff doesn't give anything back to the community.
Nintendo Switch. So Nintendo Switch Online Super Nintendo editions this quarter, month, whatever frequency they're doing it at the moment.
Feel like it.
Yeah, exactly. And they're really, getting from the top tier here. Claymates, Jelly Boy, and Chemco game. Bomboozle, aka Kablooey. I did not know. You could write anything there, and I'm just going to say it.
So when they announced Bomboozle, I'm like, I've never heard of that game. And then when I found out it's also known as Kablooey, I'm like, oh yeah, I know that game. Yeah, these games it's a very rough edition. I don't know what they're doing here. I don't even mind Claymates. I think it's a decent little game, but these are not. Now everyone's saying, oh, Chrono Trigger and all. Like, there's still games that are like, these are like low tier. There's still games mid tier that they haven't added in. Now, I know a lot of this stuff is difficult for licensing, but what are you doing, Nintendo? Like, come on.
I just can't believe they're not adding Game Boy or something like that.
Yeah,
they've exhausted all the good SNES games that they don't want to pay a shitload of money for. So surely they start to go, here's Game Boy, and then trickle it out. Like, I kind of feel like they gave too many games up front too quickly. Because they launched with like 20 or 30 games each. And it was just like, it would have been better in my view. They just launched with 6 games. And then each month they trickled out a game. I'd be fine with that, to be honest. But
I want Chrono Trigger.
Yeah. I honestly think all of the, the upcoming PlayStation Plus games, Game Pass games are all shit this month. Like, it's a real shit month. In my view, I know Swinny doesn't agree because it's an Xbox show.
Well,
just getting back to Switch.
We'll get to it.
You'll get to it and you have your piece. Digital highlights, Streets of Rage 4 is $22.50. What the fuck is it? Drawngen. Okay, like Dungeon. Okay, Drawngen. Yeah, the great name. Dungeons of Paper and Ink, $1.50. And Minesweeper Genius, $1.35. I'm shocked that it's called Minesweeper. I thought that would have been trademarked by Microsoft.
No, there's heaps of other games called Minesweeper.
Really? They must have never trademarked it.
The one thing Microsoft never went after. Interesting.
You want to go after the PlayStation highlights? Mikey?
Yup. So digital highlights all until the 19th of August. We've got Assassin's Creed Triple Plaque, which includes Black Flag, Unity, and Syndicate for $23 for PS Plus owners. We got Dragon Ball's Fighters with a Z at the end for $14 at 86% off, which is a pretty good discount. And Shadow of Loot Box for $3.60. I have no idea what that game is, I have to admit.
For Xbox, so they've actually got a summer sale on at the moment. Quite a few games. I picked up Kingdom Hearts, the first collection, because that left Game Pass. So I thought it's a good chance to pick up for half price. In terms of Game Pass Edition highlights, I actually think it's a pretty good list this month. The thing is that there's not a lot of big AAA games, which I think is kind of what you're probably thinking of, Intergod. There's lots of smaller games I think are really interesting. Like they've actually added Atomic Crops, which looks pretty neat on console PC. They've added 2 games that people actually really quite enjoy, quite fond of from the original Xbox. So you got Blinks, the first Blinks game, and Crimson Skies, both pretty well regarded games. So they're only available on console Game Pass. Then the games that I'm most looking forward to. Chris Tales is a new release straight into the Game Pass. Cool looking time traveling RPG, very JRPG-ish, something I've been looking forward to for a while. Console PC, they've added Raji, an Ancient Epic, game I've been looking forward to on console PC. Last Stop on console PC, which is a new game from the Virginia developers. And probably the biggest 2 headliner games are Microsoft Flight Simulator, they've added that for console, and The Ascent, which looks absolutely great for console and PC as a kind of like a co-op shooter potential RPG. I haven't watched enough. Yeah, I haven't watched enough to kind of know exactly how the gameplay is. But yeah, I actually think it's a pretty strong list. I think the initial reaction into got was I hadn't read what they were, and you said, "Oh, they're having a Games of Gold month," and I'm like, "That's a big statement." This year, to me, I just didn't understand it. So, but yeah, no, I know there's not a lot of big AAA games. Like the biggest AAA game here is Flight Simulator, and that's already on PC.
Yeah.
So
look, I guess it's one thing that they've had a lot of awesome games previously, and then for me, I just don't have time to play games that are like 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, whatever. So I guess why am I playing Skyward Sword? But unless they're bangers, it's sort of a bit like meh, or like probably Chris Tales is probably the only one that I'm like, okay, interesting.
See,
might check
I'm
that
the
out.
complete opposite. I actually don't play big games on Game Pass, generally speaking. With the couple exceptions, I actually like these kind of. Also, a lot of these games are usually a bit shorter in experience as well. Not always the case, but there's also been some low lights for removals. Leaving on 31st of July, we've got It Lurks Below, The Tourist, and Undermine, leaving both console and PC Game Pass. And that's it.
Awesome. All right, well, let's get into our first special feature, our Gaming Pet Peeves. So what we are doing is we're talking about our top 3 things that grind our gears when playing games, while playing games, associated with playing games. So as always, we don't check in beforehand because we do want to keep this dynamic and we don't know what each other is going to say. And we'll start adding to our list. So we'll do a top 3. You want to probably just go through one by one, yeah? Like in terms of Swinny, you go through your top 3?
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
So you want me to go first?
Yeah, why don't you open up the batting?
So what grinds my gears? So this first one is actually what.
So this is your third, yeah?
My third,
yeah.
So this is actually the one that made me think of this segment because it's just something that I just noticed it's really annoyed me, but it's a little thing, but it's like, it's a pet peeve, that's kind of thing. It's like, it's not a huge thing, but it just annoys you for some bizarre reason. And that is games that keep playing music when you're on the pause screen.
Oh,
so you pause the game and it will keep playing music, even if it's like lower volume of what is normal playing. I would pause the game, walk away, go do something. I'm like, oh man, like I hear this music in the background. When I pause a game, I want to it just pauses. All the sound pauses. I don't have to mute it myself. And weirdly, it doesn't annoy me when you've got games you can't pause at all, because it's kind of like, well, I can't pause it, so that's fine. It's more
like Dark
games that
Souls.
I've paused. Exactly. It's games that I've paused and it keeps playing some form of music. I think the biggest little exception to
Oops,
that
I'll take that away.
is there are some games that have like really iconic music on the pause screen. I think I could be wrong, but I think GoldenEye, when you pause and it goes to the watch, I think that plays a little bit of its own music. There's a few exceptions where it's like fond memories with that stuff, but
Yeah.
in general, that's my number 3. So have you got your image, or should I delay?
No, keep going. I'm just trying to get how I'm doing this right, because I just dragged that in and it took over the whole screen. I think if I do it like that, that's going to be Battletoads, because Battletoads is one of those games that does that, and it's freaking annoying as hell.
Yeah,
and it's really loud, the music in that game.
My second pet peeve is games that have a manual save system, but they only give you a really small amount of save slots.
Oh, okay.
Now so let's say 10 or less. Now, there's a reason why this annoys me specifically, because RPGs, especially long RPGs, and especially ones that are known to be glitchy, you have to kind of keep a running tab of saves. And there's also times when I will save stuff because I need to go back for it, because I'm just like strategic saves. And in the older days, I understood the reason for that, like your PlayStation era, and especially SNES era and stuff. But let's say PlayStation 64 and all that, because that stuff took up a lot of memory on the memory cards and the controller packs. This day and age, if I've got the space and it doesn't break the game by having like hundreds of save slots or unlimited or whatever, don't limit me. Like, man, like, let me use that. It happens all the time with RPGs where there's like 10 or 15 save slots, and then suddenly I'm overriding ones that I was wanting to keep and stuff like that. So again, it's not a huge thing. It's the fact that they just manually save it all in multiple slots. It's great, but it's a pet peeve.
I probably am being a little bit unfair with my example here. I've put in Resident Evil's ribbon system. You know, like, I don't even know if you're familiar with it. It's when you would be, right? Yeah. Because that is actually part of the mechanism of the game itself, but you know, it's the kind of thing that came to my head.
More limiting.
They're doing that on purpose, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
I get what you're saying.
But that's what I thought about as well when you mentioned it.
So my number 3, and this one is...
Well, you're number 1, right?
Oh, sorry, yeah, number 1, you're right, counting down, is... And this one kind of moves a little above a pet peeve to like a real annoyance for me, but whatever. It's RPGs, specifically, that don't allow you to sell items in bulk or buy items in bulk as well, but selling is the biggest thing. And I kind of bundle this in with not having the ability to tag things as junk and auto sell as well, but that's something I'm not expecting every game to have, but I'm expecting every game, if you've got an inventory system where you could potentially have 20 of an item, don't make me sit there selling these things individually. Like, stack this stuff and allow you to sell it in bulk. And most games are pretty good with this, but every now and then you come across a game and you're like, what the fuck, man? Like, why? Who tested this and said, this was being an enjoyable experience to freaking sit there selling things manually all the time? So
I have a feeling it doesn't get... Because I keep wondering that too. I keep wondering how something like Cyberpunk, that's gone through so much testing, so many iterations, doesn't get something like that right. And
because they rushed it out. They rushed it out. Oh, you reckon? It's no, but I thought Swinny, when it first launched, you couldn't, like, you know, when you were pulling apart the weapons and all this other kind of stuff, none of it was automated. Not the version you played.
Well, I don't know, because I only can compare.
No, so the first one, Mike, I'm correct, right? Like, you had to go through individually to like sell each part and go in and out of the menu. It was like driving people absolutely insane. It was one of the first things they updated.
Well, Cyberpunk's inventory. Cyberpunk's inventory is just a whole pet peeve in itself. Like, that game is a mess when it comes to its inventory. And I love the game, but its inventory is... I spoke for ages about it. But
I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that in a whole bunch of games that for some reason I think you don't expect them to have that issue, because you expect them to have learned from previous games they've made or other things, or have done some testing. And the only thing I can think of is no one really ends up playing the game like a real person plays the game, where they hoard a bunch of shit, where they collect everything that they see. And I think that's maybe why when they play test it, they don't play test that, because they don't have time to do that. So I don't know, mate. It's interesting though. It's funny how it happens so much.
They're my 3 gaming pet peeves. There were some others I considered, but that's my 3.
Cool.
All right, let's go with you next, Mike.
Cool. Okay, so I had a few, but I've narrowed it down to just 3 because I had to just have
Top
3.
three.
So
What's your third?
Top 3. So my number 3, I'm gonna bucket under the term fluff. So I'm talking about stuff like adding fetch quests and side stuff that doesn't add much to the experience. It's just a cookie cutter thing that distracts from the main game. So someone who I think I have OCD. I've never gone to a doctor to say it, but everyone I know has said that.
Let's not diagnose yourself, but
let's
yeah,
not self-diagnose, but I think everyone that knows me thinks that. You know, I hate things like giant walls of shitty side quests. You know, thinking about something like Skyrim, where you can never really get through them. It's just added there for padding and fluff to make it look bigger. You know, there's a bunch of games to this day like Skyrim that I'm just talking about where honestly I have no idea what the hell happens in the main story because there's just so much side fluff that I got involved with.
I don't think that's a good example of what you're saying, to be honest.
No. Well, hang on, because I get it at the same time, and I did make a note to myself that at the same time, I get that when you're building such immersive worlds, you can't have them empty. You can't have them just not have things in there for you to do. I get that part. But if you're going to pad it out, then I think you should do something like what The Witcher did with its side quests. You know, it's quite infamous for having side quests that are more than just go fetch 5 of these flowers or whatever. They're actually interesting and they add to the lore. They're multifaceted. They take you from one thing to the next. There's sometimes a twist or something really funny. They've done it right. It's not fluff for the sake of just adding fluff. And I think back to the point that you also made, Swinny, and I bucket this under the idea of fluff, is inventory clutter, where let's face it, most RPGs, you're very likely to hoard items, whether you have OCD or not. I think a lot of people just have this compulsion to want to collect things and hoard things and have things in their inventory, a lot of which you never end up using anyway. And not many games, if any, give you like simple rule systems where, you know, for example, if something's junk, mark it as junk, automatically get rid of it, automatically sell it at a vendor when you get to it. A lot of games don't incorporate that, and you're like, why the fuck doesn't it do that? That's so weird. Or
you're really stretching this out to encompass a lot of things.
I know, I agree.
Yeah, because to me, all of this stuff comes under the bucket of fluff, where developers add content just to pad stuff out. And to me, that's the fluff. And, you know, I could think of many different examples and many different parts of this. Assassin's Creed does that a lot with so much shit on the map where you're like, does it fucking need to really be there just to have something there so it doesn't look like it's an empty world or something? Why do you have to do it? So that's my number 3. Too much fluff. Just like my talking. Number two, I bucket.
You made my joke for me.
No worries. Number 2, I bucket under the idea of hand-holding. So, you know, I find that some developers struggle to find the right balance between being too cryptic and giving way too much information to the player, way too many hints, way too much help, way too much hand-holding. And, you know, as an example, quest markers that tell you exactly where you need to go, like literally down to the last centimeter of the map where you should go. And I feel like it can actually not break, but if I take the Witcher 3 as an example, there's a few parts where you have to use your Witcher senses to figure out where to go next and do a little bit of detective work. And I found that a lot of the times I'll just be looking at the map because the map tells you exactly where you need to go and where you need to look for a thing, as opposed to you actually figuring it out in the game world based on your surroundings or exploring or seeing a scratch on a door or, ooh, what's that suspicious looking item on the ground? You know, things like that. And I think games that do that well find a really good balance between that. And I actually kind of hate, to some extent, games that hold your hand way too much. So it just ruins the immersion. So
I think there's a really good example of a game that kind of actually speaks to both these first two. It's actually Assassin's Creed Valhalla. So they actually trimmed a lot of the fluff out of that game, essentially like that the previous games had, right? Now there's still a lot of stuff and chest to collect and stuff, but they essentially trimmed a lot of the fluff and made like the side quests as these, talked about it before, but these kind of, these specific kind of events and things that happen. But the hand holding is something they started to introduce in the last few games, where you can essentially set a difficulty level. And I like I like this idea, and I wish more games would do it, where difficulty level in terms of exploration. Okay.
Yes.
The easy mode is, hey, it's going to point out the marker for you. So it's going to hold your hand. The next one is it's going to tell you the general area. And with like the hardest difficulty, it will, based on the interactions of the quest of the people you've spoken to, it will tell you it's located at the mouth of this river, or it's located where these two rivers connect. It gives you clues to then go. You have to go to the area. And once you kind of get in the general vicinity of the area, then it'll kind of be like, okay, well, that's where it is. And you can use your, so I think that's a really
cool.
I wish more games would do that. And I think hand holding is, 100% I agree.
The thing about that, the last one, what Assassin's Creed does is, I think it's an awesome concept. The only thing it needs to also do is reward you for that. So one of the things about the fluff is in games like, even The Witcher is a perfect example, there's a lot of items that are not unique. It's just a replication of the previous thing that just has a slightly higher stat. And what I would hate is for you to go on this awesome hunt to waste, 30 minutes going, oh, it's behind this tree under the river that crosses with the blah. Look for the rock that's pointing south underneath this night sky at 2 a.m. Blah, blah, blah. This kind of, and you do all of that. And it's like, fuck, all right, it's like a pair of socks or something. Great. You know what I mean? Like if it has unique, cool things that you get rewarded for.
Well, that's exactly what Valhalla does.
Then it's perfect. It's awesome. Because I know Skyrim.
So it'll give you, there's specific treasure hunt things that will do that, where you have to map up, and this has been in Assassin's Creed games for a while, but you look at a treasure map, you have to map it to the environment to find it, and then it's a good piece of loot.
But then they give you good loot. Exactly, yeah.
But generally, the thing I was talking about is actually main quest stuff. So it's not so much a reward, it's more like you're progressing. The progression is the reward. So,
yeah, gotcha. Yeah. Because Skyrim did the. I
found. I think we've made this point.
Just a really quick one. Skyrim had little treasure maps that you could find, but they were useless because there was nothing ever cool or unique in any of them. So you just gave up. You didn't give a shit about them anymore, and that was a really cool part of the game in a game like that. So anyway, my number 3 pet peeve. My number 1 pet peeve is psychologists. So what I mean by that is the fact that the industry hires professionals, well-paid professionals, to figure out how to get you hooked onto games that ruin your life in a lot of instances, make you forget about the real world, make it become your main obsession. I'm talking about, games like Destiny, where it's very carefully crafted, where they hire actual people to understand human dynamics and thought and what gets people hooked on a particular thing, and then implementing those mechanics to basically keep you hooked on that one particular thing, as opposed to making a game because it's an awesome game. They want you to enjoy the experience. You're free to go and wander off and play another game whenever you feel like, so to speak. This is the complete opposite. We've now reached an era where games are not necessarily always made for the fun of making the game. It's made... they're made to keep you hooked and suck your time.
The image that... I'm laughing because the image that got chosen for psychologist is like some South.
So for anyone who's watching the actual... listening, the audio podcast, I'm just pulling together what I think are images that are representative of what we're all talking about. And South Park, I think, covered this whole thing insanely perfectly.
I have not seen that episode.
Oh, haven't you?
Nope.
They basically break apart mobile games and the loop that they have. And it's all about like getting the whales and like just fucking them over and just fucking them so hard and trying to get $10,000 out of them and stuff. It was with a Terrence and Phillip mobile game. You'd love this episode.
Okay, I will watch that episode. Yeah. So that's my number 1 absolute pet peeve. I think it's the dark side of the video gaming industry, where I don't even consider those things games at this point.
It's not even like mobile. I put it as like dark side of mobile, but then it's like actually beyond
dark
that.
Side of gaming.
yeah, I just wanted to be more specific. All right, my 3, and this is going to be really tricky because I'm trying to do 2 things at once. So my number 3 is the way that that games handle, and I haven't really given myself enough space here, the way that the games handle abusive players online. So I don't play that many multiplayer games, but probably the most out of the 3 of us, I guess. And like after a while, like stuff like Rocket League, I've just like turned off everything, like chat, voice, everything, because you just get like one dickhead who is just a prick. And like they'll literally jump on and say like kill yourself and all this other kind of insane shit. And it just puts me in a bad mood, man. It's like I don't need to jump on a game for like some idiot to try to take out my frustrations that they don't have sex with their wife or whatever, or they're a virgin and like, you know, they're coming at me for
really
shit.
angry about this.
No, but like what I don't like is it's not them, because you always get idiots, right? It's that it's abuse systems, right? They're like crap in games. And it's like, I do think there is like always been a bro culture in gaming. And I've put in like 360 as the example because there is something really funny about those lobbies back in the day where you get like 12, 13-year-olds in Modern Warfare 2 and they're all like, you know, with their high-pitched voices trying to act like they're so tough they'll bash you or something. And they're talking about your mum. Sounds like someone else I know. And it's just like super immature, super lame, super uncreative. But like, honestly, like gaming should be inspired. Hey?
He thought I was frozen. I wasn't frozen.
No, I think he's pointing to you to say that you like you're the unoriginal one.
Change your signs from last time, Mike.
So yeah, what I was saying is that I think that gaming, and like especially with online games, they should take some of the insights that you can get from stuff like Airbnb and Uber, where the way you rate each other, your experience changes. Like, of course, I'm like a 5-star Uber passenger. So it actually, I don't know if you guys know this, but it actually affects what Ubers you can get, right? If you're low rating on Uber, you will only get low rating drivers. Like it actually like has that system. So you become an arsehole, you hang out with arseholes, right? And same way as some games do this like specifically where it's like cheaters, they'll put all cheaters in the same game and cheating against each other and they're all having a shit time, right? I think that like, you know, they could take that insight and actually go, okay, if you're an arsehole, you're not going to have a voice chat like ability. So you can't talk to the lobby. Like we're just going to start limiting the feature set that you have. Or like for me, I would actually be happy if I said, I only want to play with players who are 4.2 and above or 4.3 and above. And I just don't want to play with guys who like, you know, are assholes and just like absolutely dickheads. Like when they're playing games, I don't need that shit.
I feel like I should have clarified my idea for this segment a little bit more. That these are pet peeves, because this is a bigger issue to me than a pet peeve.
Wow, it's like I don't know.
Sort of is.
No, it's fine. I'm just like I'm thinking like minor, like these minor things, but they just annoy me.
Like I hate psychologists.
Yeah, exactly.
And using like some asshole. I don't like the pause screen doesn't work right. All right, well, this one's I guess it's pretty big as well. But, you know, more like not as serious as abuse systems. But games that don't handle, and again, a lot of these are kind of like online, games that don't handle players dropping out, dropping off, falling away and stuff like that, it drives me nuts. Rocket League is probably the best example of this, like how to do it right. Splatoon 2 is probably the example of how to do it the worst. And there's a lot of stuff that I love about Splatoon 2, but, you know, a lot of the systems are really bad. So, like, for instance, in Splatoon 2, if people drop out, they're gone. And you're playing 4v4, and there's been many instances where, like, pretty much in that game, if you lose one player and you're fairly evenly matched, 4v3 is just next to impossible in that game. And then it becomes 4v2. And to me, it's just like exactly like in Rocket League in the casual mode where you just backfill people with bots and, you know, you think about these things. And I just think there's too many games that assume you're not going to get people disconnecting and they handle it in just the absolute trash way. Like I've heard a lot of people talk about Mario Golf. And again, you know, like I'm picking on Nintendo a bit, but they do have the worst online out of all the consoles and PC. With Mario Golf, the latest release, like if you get a few disconnects, it just blocks you from playing online. Like it just says you can't play online for 6 hours or something like that. because your connection's a bit dodgy. And it happens to people even when they believe it's not their connection. Like they have no issue with any other game. They got LAN plugged in, all this other kind of stuff, and they still have issues, right? And I just feel like a lot of games, they build it and it's almost like they're playing only on their perfect connections in the office or something. And they never like experience it in the real world with playtesting. So yeah, I think like that's a real, pet peeve for me.
I saw Splatoon. I thought you were just going to talk specifically about Splatoon's matchmaking.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of things, but that stuff doesn't bother me as much as just like, because that happens in all, like even if you fix the lobby system, it still has this issue where people drop off and yeah, like it becomes like you can't even quit it. It's like, oh, great, I'll play for the next 5 minutes and lose. Like you kind of already lost from the start. And a lot of the times the disconnects happen right at the start as well. So, and then my number one is I am just like in a space where, when I was a kid, most games you could pause, right? Like Swinny, there weren't that many games that you couldn't pause as a kid, right? Like playing SNES and Nintendo, right? So that was a very common thing, right?
Maybe some of the ones were like meant to be arcade ports or something, but generally speaking, you could pause every game.
Yeah. And I don't know, I'm very different to you guys where like from a life perspective, just like sometimes I'll need to drop everything and just go do something really quickly, right? And I just freaking hate games where it's not structured in any way to be able to just go, okay, I'm just pausing this or just suspending it or just like even the like what do they call it on PlayStation 5, Mike? It's
quick resume.
No, it's not called quick resume. I feel like you just like look at it.
That take you straight back in? Or?
No, it's rest mode. Yeah, rest mode. To me, that just takes it's like too hard to get there so quickly. Like I just want to be able to press like a button and then just go, yeah, I want to put it in rest mode, like straight away, right?
Yeah, but the thing with that is that you can't just have it. You need a check in place because people will press that by accident.
Yeah.
No. I'm saying like, yeah, like one thing to confirm it or whatever. You used to be able to shut down your PlayStation 4 super easy. Now it's like to do any of those options, it's really, it's like a lot of steps involved just to do something simple.
One extra step and about a second worth of effort.
Yeah, but that's too much. That's like, because there's too much coordination to be able to do it. It's not like a reliable bang, 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 like a 3-button press. It's actually like you have to hold it to the right for a certain amount of time. And then,
but you're talking about.
You say that and you've got an Xbox picture of where that is that quick to do it on Xbox.
Yeah.
You should have a PlayStation
also,
picture.
you're talking about pausing something because you can pause practically every single game. There's I would say it's an exception that you can't pause a game. And again,
it's not just pause.
That dead horse.
It's suspend. I want to be able to suspend games, and this is why I think.
But you couldn't suspend games back in any other generation. It's only really the new generations where you can suspend games. So
but that was
is your pet peeve about something that is just been introduced that isn't quite right yet, or what?
So I haven't finished what I said. So like normally in a conversation, I'll say some stuff and then I'll actually elaborate what I'm actually saying. So why I brought up when we were kids is I'd have to pause it and then leave it, have dinner, come back. Yeah. Right. And it was fucking nuts. It was stupid. But it was a limitation. You couldn't do anything about it. It was just the way that the technology, they couldn't even really save properly back in the day. Like they'd have to give you codes to save, right?
It's annoying that electrons need to keep doing their thing to keep a state active.
I was about to say, does he have a way to mute Mike now?
I do have a way, and I'm going to start implementing it.
Right.
So, fuck, I'm actually really annoyed. So, these days, there's no reason why it should be like that, right? And this is one of the massive reasons why I like the Switch. That with the Switch, you just press the power button. It's one button. It's super reliable. There's never any accidental times I've ever pressed the power button to pause it. And it just fits in with my life. It just makes it so much easier. And it also means that all the developers have to make their games to support that as an idea, right? You can't release a game on the Switch without having the ability to suspend it instantly. And I still think it's one of the absolute things that differentiates the Switch from everything else for me. And it's interesting with the Steam Deck that they actually have thought really deeply about it. They've recently spoken about it to IGN. Just that was one of the real huge areas they wanted to focus in on, and just being able to snap pause a game and then bring it back up. It's not like obviously way harder on the PC where it's not built to be like that. So they spent a lot of time to make that work. Cool. All right, let's move on to our final segment.
Oh, I thought we were going to wrap it up. That's all right.
Wrap up? What's
It's fine. Let's move on.
What are we wrapping up?
Oh, we'll just talk. Whatever. So it's fine. We'll talk with post show. It's all good.
No. What are we talking about?
No.
Go back to the
our
view.
gaming resolutions. We're doing our gaming resolution check.
I didn't know what else we were going to say about that. What else were we going to say?
Like
we're
quick
on the
roundup
next segment. We're on the next segment.
All right, next segment. Gaming resolution check-in. So this time we're going to talk about our resolutions and if we needed to update them or do anything with them. Maybe you will open up with you, Swinny. So you had complete 100% of achievements in the entire Assassin's Creed series, complete all single-player Final Fantasy games, and reach achievement completion total of 250 RPGs, an increase of 31 games. I don't...
Yes.
You're not going to change anything, are you?
No, why would I change anything? These are my goals. I'm not going to change my goals mid-term, especially when I'm.
I like the shade that you're like throwing preemptively.
So my Assassin's Creed, complete all achievements Assassin's Creed. So that goal was complete, got incomplete again, made it complete again, and now it's incomplete again because the latest update for Valhalla added a title update that added the mode mastery mode, and I'm working on that. And there's 2 achievements there that once I do that, I'll complete it. But then in August, when they launch the bloody next DLC, it will become incomplete again. So it's work in progress to keep that complete. That mastery mode is pretty tough. It's honestly the hardest thing to do, I think, in Valhalla. So it's giving me a good challenge. I'll say that. My next goal is complete all the single-player Final Fantasy games, the ones that I hadn't completed yet. There were 4 of them. So that's not started yet. I'd plan to start that in September. So that's kind of like... That's
on track.
Just always been... Well, it's on track to not start yet, you know. So that one... But probably the biggest one to kind of, just like talk about is the reach a total of 250 completed RPGs on Xbox platforms, game score and everything. And so I'm at currently 243 out of 250. So that means I've completed 24 games so far in these, I guess, first 7 months now. And I've got 7 to go. Now, 2 of those games I've already completed this year, like Valhalla I just said, and also this other game that got a title update. So they're 2 that'll get recompleted. One of those is Steven Universe. We went into length talking about I have got 1 achievement left and I'm going to wait to see if they add another end game mode because I got to reset my game to get it. One of those is Greedfall that I'm nearly done with this week. So there's 4 games there out of the 7 that pretty much will, be means I've essentially got 3 left. So of those 3, I mean... There's a whole bunch of stuff, like Crystal's got released. I could go back to Monster Sanctuary. So I've got a lot of time. I was planning on making one of them Final Fantasy X-2. That's part of my other goal, the Final Fantasy one. But I don't know if I'll complete all the achievements in that when I do the first playthrough, as in first run through, because it's a lot of work, that game. So I may just complete the story and then go back to it afterwards. But yeah, so pretty on track. But it is annoying that I have to keep constantly going back to like recomplete some of these games. Especially I had a goal marked off complete. It's incomplete.
I kind of hope that on the 31st of December they release like a few updates to a few of these games and then I can call out you didn't complete it. I'm sure you'll do some buffer. I guess maybe it's Assassin's Creed. If Assassin's Creed releases something on the 31st of December.
Once I've completed all those RPGs and I'm happy with how I'm going with Final Fantasy games, I'll go back to completing RPGs anyway. So I'll probably end up being 255 or 260 at the end of the year anyway. So
it's more that if they do anything with Assassin's Creed, if they add anything at the last second.
That's the one.
That's going to fuck you.
But honestly, the third goal's the one, like always been the big one for me. So.
How about you, Mike?
So what did I have? My first one was to buy less games just because they're on special. So I think I've been achieving that, but I think I took it a little too much to the extreme where I literally bought nothing new. Under the pretense that I can finally get through my backlog and it will help me deal with not buying games just because they're on special. So now I've given myself a bit of a budget based on your suggestion, Intergot, of about $100 a month, give or take. So if there's, a game that comes out that I really want to play or something I want to review for the potty or whatever the case may be, I have the ability to do that. But I'm still sticking to the idea that I'm not going to buy games just because they're cheap and add them to my backlog. So I think I've been doing pretty well with that. I'm trying to remember in recent memory if there's anything in the last, 6 odd months that I bought just because, that's cheap. Don't think I have, so pretty happy with that. The other thing was to play less games in general. Kinda. I mean, I feel like, yes, less than, say, last year, but I still feel like I play too many games, if that makes sense.
Not by the sounds of this week. Like it seems like
this week was an oddity,
you've been keeping
though.
up with it a little bit,
Yeah, but this week's been an oddity in the sense that I haven't really had the time to play them, so I only really played one game, and not even that much on it. But I think generally speaking, I do dabble in quite a bunch of different games still. So, it's been going okay. It's better than previous years. I think I've got it under control. You know what I mean? Because to me, it's been a struggle. It's always been a struggle since my probably very late teens, where I found I couldn't find the balance with video games. I was spending way too much time on them and not enough time on stuff I really wanted to do, like my hobbies and learning new things and stuff like that. So I feel like now it's a bit more of a balance, which is good. And the last one was to publish a game, which,
how's that going?
Yeah, not too well.
No, yours is not publish a game. You're getting mixed up.
No,
yours
mine was
to
just,
make a game.
Sorry, just to make a game. That's right. Sorry. Yeah, not too well, to be honest. Yeah, I dabbled with Game Maker, gave that up.
Game Builder
Garage.
Yeah.
Well, Game Builder Garage.
Yeah.
I still find for some reason when I played around with Game Maker, I just enjoyed it more. And I don't know if that's because it felt like it had unlimited possibilities almost, whereas with the Game Builder, you could do a lot of different things, but you were still limited in what you could do. So you couldn't create your own models. You couldn't do a lot of different things like that. And I felt that restriction kind of put me off it a little bit, but I think I'm probably just making excuses in the end. So I will probably revise Game Maker, which I bought when Intergot suggested it when it was on sale, and try to get something out on that, even if it's just like some, I don't know, side-scrolling bloody spaceship shooting thing. That seems doable.
It sounds like you're just talking about the tutorial that it comes with.
Something like that, yeah.
Would that meet if he finishes the tutorial, would that meet the criteria?
Well, his one is so none of them are, I don't want to go on about it, but none of them are specific, measurable, actionable, timely. Like they're all loose, like at least yours, Swinny, are like very specific. Like,
yeah,
you can easily tell if it's like green or red. With Mike's, it's like, it's all debatable. For mine, I've already failed mine. Like the first one, play Ring Fit every day. I haven't because I got sick. And then I did get sick and I had to stop playing it. But, I'm not sick now and I'm not playing it. So I feel like I need to just revise this to a minimum of like, I need to complete the story because there's actually a story in the game. It's kind of a wacky game in that way. And I might try to make it more reasonable, which is like play it every other day or something like that, because every day becomes a huge grind. Complete the Dirty Dozen. I haven't played many of these games. I've started a bit of them. I do need to actually play a lot of them. I won't count them all out right now, but probably The Witcher is going to screw me over the most, just because I feel like if I start playing that game, I'll probably get into it, and then it is like a 100-hour game. So that would just consume like 3 months of my time.
At least two of these games are also Game of Some Other Year.
I was going to say, yeah.
Games,
so
they are conveniently. And yeah, Mass Effect, I'm still playing that. You look like I've got a lot of them on the Switch, whatever I could get on the Switch. And then Resident Evil 4, I'm holding off now because I want to see if that comes out on the Oculus Quest this year. So I'll play it that way and then talk about it on the show because I thought that'd be a cool way to do it. So yeah, I mean, like that's definitely a hard amber trending red at the moment. And then the last one, to publish a game. Now this one's a tricky one because like I've completed this in a dodgy way with the publishing of the Game Maker, a Game Builder game that people have downloaded and played and commented on. But I do want to make a game for the Playdate. So, and that one, like, I don't know how it's going to work though, the publishing part. Would you consider it published if it's like a homebrew game that I've put out there?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think if it's
Self-published
something
online.
that someone can install on their machine if they wanted to,
Yeah.
I think that's much closer than Game Builder Garage, honestly. But even then, like, these are our own goals. You know, if we feel that we've met the criteria, then, like, honestly, it's a personal thing. You know, so I know we did the quarterly review last time and things like that. But ultimately, this was stuff that just we wanted to personally achieve, you know?
Yeah.
So if we feel happy with what we've done, then just do you feel happy in TIMECODES?
Yeah, and I think the good thing about the Playdate is, you know, it's only black and white. So, you know, you're so hard constrained and it's a 400 by 240 resolution. So, like, everything about it is, like, super constrained, but that's actually really good for me because it just means I can't spend shitload of time on graphics because it's like there's only so much you can do with it, and it's not the.
No, sorry, I was going to say I do think the Jason Statham idea could work, but I was thinking you can't use the word Jason Statham where you use the crank to keep him alive. You got to call him like Stason Jatham.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yes.
Yeah, like what was it, Phoenix Wright style? I actually think that's not a bad idea, so I'll let people in on it. Like, people can copy it if they want. I don't care. So there's a movie from 2006 that we all love called Crank. And the whole idea there is he's been poisoned. And the only way for the poison not to kill him is that he has to keep his adrenaline up. And keeping his adrenaline up, he like does crazy shit. He has sex with his girlfriend in public. He does all this other kind of crazy stuff just so he's pumped all the way through the movie. So I thought, because, you know, you guys, helpfully, I asked, can you come up with an idea? You two are creative people. Come up with an idea of, like, you know, what kind of games I could use the Crank. And then all you said was the movie Crank. So that was really helpful.
Brilliant, though. It's perfect.
But I did think,
Well done, Sweaty.
actually, like, the idea of you have to continuously crank the crank to stay alive in the game. Like, that's kind of a funny, weird concept. So I'm trying to play that out and see how that could actually work.
And you could see, like, it's probably already been told. Oh, I'm frozen.
Yeah, you are.
Oh, it took an hour to happen. But I'll just say my last point was you could see like a little heart meter that's like, you know, gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and then you got to crank it back up to come back. So.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, I was thinking like you have to keep moving. So it's kind of like, you know, it's not like constant, but if you stop moving for a few seconds, you're going to die or whatever. So you need to keep doing stuff. I don't know. I got to think about how it would actually work. But yeah, but I don't know that, or I was just thinking something simple, which is like, you know, like having concentric circles or something, and you have to like crank it around and then like press up or down to hit on the outside or the inside, like an arcade kind of game. Yeah, I'm playing around. I just want to make something where it's like genuinely you go, I couldn't play this as well as if I had the crank. Like the crank is the optimal way to play it. So like for me, you know, like the Wii Play games and all that kind of stuff, Wii Play Resort, like they're the best ways to play those games. Like people who play it on a controller, it makes no sense, right? Like you have to play it with the Wiimote. So
like Skyward Sword.
That's a bad implementation of that, in my view. That's it from me. Was there anything else you guys wanted to cover on the gaming resolution check-in?
I'll just say it's been fun. Like I really like this idea. I like that it's something we can check in every quarter on, and you know, over time, just talk about how we're working towards it. As you've kind of given me crap, it doesn't really change anything about what I actually do in the past. It's more just what I used to do anyway, just like quantifiable in podcast form. But it's been fun. I really, really enjoy it.
If I gave notes to the three of us, I'd say the notes for you would be try to get out of your comfort zone a little bit. I'd say for Mike, be a bit more specific, and for me, be less ambitious. Be less ambitious. I always go too hard with things. But yeah, no, I think it's actually been a lot of fun. Anything else you wanted to add, Mike?
No.
All right, cool. All right, well, let's wrap up the show. So that was the show for this week. Next week, hopefully, if I have time, I'll review The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD.
Nice.
Kind of like maybe a third the way through the game. So I'm not sure how I go. I actually might take some time off of work this week, not to play the game, just I need a bit of a breather. So yeah, maybe I'll use that as an excuse to play the game as well. But with that, bye-bye.
Adios.